Have you ever sewn a sleeve that feels tight when you bend your arm, or one that just doesn't sit right no matter what you do? In this video, I'll show you how to draft a basic sleeve with an elbow dart, a game changer for fit, comfort, and professional finish. Again, stay till the end because I'll also show you how to test it on fabric so you never struggle with sleeves again. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Helena and I welcome you to Curve&stitch. This channel is all about pattern drafting and sewing tutorials. So if this is something you're interested in, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming tutorials. Let's get into it. In this video, we will learn how to draft a basic sleeve pattern, how to add elbow dart for movement, then how to cut and sew this on a muslin to test the fit. Here are the things you need. You need a pattern paper, your front and back basic bodice block, a ruler and curve ruler, measuring tape, pencil, scissors, fabric, that's a muslin, pins, and then a sewing machine. Pause here and grab your tools. I'll wait. Before we draft, we need a few key measurements. First, we need our armhole measurement from our bodice. So in this case, I'm measuring the front and back armhole of our basic bodice pattern. So after measuring the armhole, I got 7.25. Then I'll go ahead and then measure the front armhole too. So after measuring the front armhole for the bodice too, I got 8.125 inches. Then we need the sleeve length measurement, our bicep circumference measurement, our elbow circumference measurement, our wrist circumference measurement. Make sure to add all the necessary ease you need in these measurements. So in this case, I'm adding 2 inches ease to the biceps. So after measuring the armhole, I'm going to add these two measurements together, then divide it by 2. So after measuring my 2 measurements, I got 7.6875. Then I'll add 0.25 inches of ease to it, making 7.938. So my armhole measurement will be 7.94 inches. That's approximately. So this is what I'm going to use as my armhole measurement. Now let's go ahead and draft our sleeve pattern. So you start with a fresh sheet of paper, just like so. We're going to draft both the front and back of the sleeve. So we need to draw a line which we'll use as midpoint of the front and back sleeve. So in this case, I'm just going to leave about 10 inches. What I'm leaving here is dependent on your biceps. 10 inches is enough to accommodate one side of the sleeve. So I'm leaving 10 inches from one side. Then I'll draw a straight line which I'm going to use as the crease or the middle of the sleeve. And I'll leave 1 inch from the top and draw a straight line which I'm going to use as my start point. This line is just a guideline, so you don't need to make it any length. You just need a line up. So this is now going to be the apex of my sleeve. This is the crease line. So from this point, I'm going to measure down my sleeve length measurement on this line. So the length of this line is supposed to be the length of my sleeve, which in this case I'm using 21.5 inches. So 21.5 inches is here. So now this is my sleeve length. So I'll square a line, a guideline. So this is the wrist line, or the wrist level. So now this is what we have. So now we need to input our cap height measurement. So this is the highest point of our sleeve, or the highest point of our cap. So from this point, we are going to measure the cap height measurement, which in this case, mine is 5.5 inches. So I'll measure from this point, 5.5 inches like so. Then I'll square a line to use as my bicep line, my bicep level. So now this is my biceps level. So on this line, you put your biceps measurement, which in this case, my bicep measurement is 6.125. So on this line, I'll measure 6.125. Then on that side too, I'll measure 0.125. Then here too, I'll measure 6.125. It's like so. So I have to extend that line to that level. Extend the bicep guideline past the bicep point to make allowance for the armhole. This line is the cap height line. So this line here is the cap height. Cap height. So this line is our cap height measurement. So now we need to create the curve of the sleeve. So we are going to use the armhole measurement to get the curve of the sleeve. So measuring from here, you are going to measure 7.95 wherever it touches, you mark. So you start from this point, do a diagonal line like so. Wherever it touches, armhole is 7.9, so it's somewhere here. 7.9 is here. Then let's move it to just a little bit here. So this is it. You see, this is our biceps measurement. This is our biceps measurement. From here to here, we had our biceps measurement here. And from here to here, using our sleeve measurement, we had it here. Okay. So now you can't use any of this. So you have to look for the midpoint of these two marks. Then you draw your line from the cap height to that midpoint mark. So now let's look for the midpoint. The difference is half inch, so the midpoint will be 0.25 inches. So now this is where we have to draw our line to. So using our ruler, we're going to draw a straight line from here to here, just like so. So now we have one side of our armhole. Now we have to do the same for this side too. So our cap height measurement is 7.9375. So you measure, you pivot it so that you get to that 7.9, which is here. So this is what we have. The same way, this is also half inch. It's also half inch. So you look for the midpoint, which is here. So you're going to join this to this with a straight line, just like we did for this side. Now we have to choose one side of this to use as our front or back. So I'm going to use this side as my front and this side as my back. So this is going to be my back side of the sleeve, back. And this side is going to be the front, just like so. So now we have the back, we have the front. So this line, we are going to divide it into 4 equal halves. We'll do the same for this side too. So measuring from here to here, we are going to divide it into 4 equal halves. So the first one will be here. So this is the first half of it. We have to divide it again, just like so, to create the second half. So you can use this to, you see I've created a crease line there. So I'm going to use it to create the third mark, just like so. You do the same for this side. Since I already have this crease line, let me just continue it from here, one, from here, the next one, place it on it, then move to the next one, then the next one. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Also 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've divided it into 4 equal halves. So for the back part, moving from the biceps line, on the first mark, you go down by 3/8 of an inch. So 1, 2, 3. So you go down by 3/8 of an inch like so. Draw a line. This is just a guideline. So this is the 3/8 of an inch. Now on the middle mark, you go up by 1/4 of an inch. So 1/4 of an inch is like this. 1/4 of an inch here. Now on the third line here, you go up by 5/8 of an inch. So 5/8. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5/8 of an inch is here, like so. So now you draw a straight line there. So you need to connect this and this and this. And on the front part, let's do the front part, then you create the curve. On the front part, moving from this side, on the first mark, you need to go up by 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch is like this. Okay, 3/4. This is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4 of an inch. Draw a straight line. Then the second one, you go up by 3/16 of an inch. 3/16 is somewhere here. So this is 1, 2, 3/16 is here. 3/16 of an inch. That's it. Then here, let me label it so that it will not confuse. So this is 3/8 of an inch. This is 1/4 of an inch. This is 5/8 of an inch. This one is 3/4 of an inch. This one is 3/16 of an inch. 3/16. And then the last one is half inch. You go down by half inch. So from this point, you go down by half inch. Half inch like so. So this is 1/2, half inch. So now you have all your marks. So now you can go ahead and join this to this mark, to this mark, to this mark, then to this mark. So using our curved side of our ruler, we're going to draw a curve like so, making sure that it touches all points. So you need to move your ruler a bit to be able to touch it all like so. You see, now it is touching all 3 points. So you can go ahead and then draw your curve just like so. So this is the first curve of our armhole. Now you turn the ruler to this side, making sure that it's touching this point, and this point. So pivot it in such a way that it is touching all points. So now we've done the front part of our armhole. This is the front curve. So now we need to do the back curve, making sure it's touching all points. We are done with the top part, so it's left with the down part. So we need to get our elbow measurement. And to get that, we need our elbow line. So to get that, you need to look for the midpoint from the biceps to the wrist, the midpoint of the two. Then we take out 3/4 or 3/4 of an inch, which is also 0.75 inches of that measurement. So we will measure from here to the wrist here. So this is what you have now here. This is it. This is the exact elbow. The elbow line is not supposed to be on the exact elbow. So we are going to go up by 0.75 inches. So 0.75 inches or 3/4 of an inch. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 here, 3/4 of an inch. So this is the elbow line. So this is where we are going to draw our elbow line. Draw a straight line to use as your elbow line. So now this is our elbow line, elbow level. This is the elbow level. So this is where we are going to draw our elbow dart. So now let's shape the sleeve to get the overall. Then we put in the dart and then shape everything. So now we need our wrist measurement on the wrist line. I'm going to give 2 ways you can get this. You can either use your wrist measurement, that's the measurement you got from measuring your wrist, or you can measure the biceps line like so. Then you subtract 2 inches. So in this case, when I measured my biceps line, I got 5/7/8 of an inch. So 5/7/8 of an inch, I will take out 2 inches, which will give me 3/7/8 of an inch. So on the wrist line, I'm going to input 3/7/8 of an inch as my wrist measurement. That's when I'm using the biceps measurement to get the wrist measurement. Or you can just use your wrist measurement, which in this case mine was 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So it's almost the same measurement. Join the mark on the wrist line to the biceps line like so. So you do the same for this side too. So from here, we're going to draw a line from here to this point. Now we are going to place our dart. We need to place the dart at the back side of the sleeve. So on the elbow line on the sleeve, we will look for the midpoint or the middle of the back elbow line. Then place a mark there. This will serve as the end or the length of the dart. Still creating the dart from the elbow, where the elbow measurement ends, go out by 1/4 of an inch and make a mark like so. Then connect this new mark back to the biceps line to create the new seam line, just like so. So now the amount of dart we need is 1 inch. The elbow dart is 1 inch. So I'll go down by 1 inch. From here, 1 inch. Like so. Then I'll join it back to this mark to create the elbow dart. Now we have to make sure this dart leg is equal to this dart leg. So you measure from here, which is 2/5/8 of an inch. So we have to make sure we get 2/5/8 of an inch here too. 2/5/8 of an inch. 2/5/8 of an inch, which is here. So now you're going to, this is where we are going to draw our dart. So from this point, we are going to go down. But here, we are going to draw it here. So we will need to shape this waist to accommodate the dart nicely, because now we've shortened the sleeve. Now we've shortened it, so we need to bring back the shortage here, back here. So now from this point, we are going to go in by 3/4 of an inch. 1, 2, 3. So 3/4 of an inch. So now you're going to connect this line to this line. Now this is what we have now. So the amount we've taken here, we need to bring it here. So 3/4 of an inch. From here, 3/4 of an inch. 1, 2, 3, 3/4 here. So you're going to blend it to this line. So now this is what we have. So this line is no longer needed. This one too is no longer needed. So now this is how a sleeve looks like. You have to make sure this line is equal to this line. So you measure from here to here. Whatever measurement we get, you put it here. So now from here to here is 8.5. So you have to make sure we measure the same measurement here. 8.5, which is here. 8.5 is here. So now you join the 8.5 mark to this mark to create the wrist, the new wrist line. So now this is our wrist line, the adjusted wrist line. So now this is what we have. So now this is no longer needed. So now this is our sleeve, our basic sleeve with an elbow dart. So now this is what we need. But before that, we need to notch the sleeve so that we'll be able to control the ease we are joining this to our blouse. So from here, you go up by 1/2 inch. From this mark, you go up by 1/2 inch. Then you give a notch. 1/2 inch, which is here. So this is the first notch for the back. This is our first notch. From this point, the back, you give 2 notches to indicate that it is the back. So you go up again, 1/2 inch again, and give another notch. So this is another notch for the back. So you have 2 notches for the back, one here, one here. You do the same thing. From this side, you go up by 1/2 inch, then you give a notch. So here, the front, you only give 1 notch. So this the sleeve notch for the front, this the 2 notches for the back. Our sleeve is ready. If you are not making a seamless pattern, then you can go ahead and add all the necessary seam allowance you need. But I am making a seamless pattern because we will use this sleeve to make different sleeve designs. So I'm not going to add any seam allowance to this sleeve. I'll just cut it as is. Make all the necessary notches for easy transfer and sewing later. Now your basic sleeve is ready. To confirm if you have the right amount of ease in the sleeve, work your basic sleeve to your basic bodice, just like so. So this is how you work the sleeve. And whilst you are working, transfer the notches on the sleeve onto the bodice. You work the back sleeve to the back of the bodice. Then you work the front of the sleeve to the front of the bodice. As you can see, this is the back. So you're going to work it like this, making sure that you are matching everything nicely from here. You work it, you work it, you work it. Now, where the notches, make a mark. Make a mark at where the notch is. So this is the first notch, and then this is the second notch. So this is the first notch, this is the second notch. So you keep on working it. This is a curve, so you have to take your time and then go little by little to make sure that then you indicate where your midpoint is. So this is where it ends. This is where it ends. My back ends here. So this is the center of my sleeve. This is the center of my sleeve. So let me notch it. So this is the center. And this is where my sleeve ends. The back part ends here, you see. So I'll give a notch there too, well, to indicate where it ends. Now we need to do the same for the front part. Now this is the front part of our bodice. This is the front part. So we are going to work this part onto the front part too. So you start from here. This is the front with one notch. So you start from here. See? So this is where the notch is. So you have to indicate it. This is the first notch. This will control the ease. Okay? So this is the first notch. Keep on going from here, from here. So this is where it ends. This is where it ends on the front part too. This is where it ends. So now, as you can see, this is where the front ends. This is where the back ends. So this is the amount of ease in my in this sleeve. In our next video, you will learn how to use this basic sleeve to create different sleeve designs. Subscribe if you haven't already and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss it when I upload it. Leave a comment to give a little motivation to me. Share so other people can also benefit. If you have a sleeve design you want me to include in the next video, comment it down below. Until next time, bye bye.